Good morning, second English students. Now, we'll wind up this book, last book in this video. Okay. Now, this video is nothing new. Everything I'm going to revise. Okay. So a kind of summary is what given the concluding chapters. Open at page 160. Okay. Open at page 160 and the last paragraph. Mark the last paragraph. Mark from this word. Translation is an essential factor in the study of comparative literature, which is concerned with the pattern of connection of literature across both time and space. And this point is already discussed. That is, translation is an essential factor of comparative literature. As we study comparative literature, naturally it should be translation studies, comparing how far it is faithful, how far the creative, this point is creative writing, and the effect, what kind of effect has this done, and comparing language. So naturally translation studies is actually a kind of comparative literature, and that is the first point. And another point, it is multilingual and multicultural, like India. Comparative literature helps in creating all India ethos and brings Bhasha literature. I already told you, Bhasha literature means regional Indian languages. Regional Indian language literature is called as Bhasha literature. And countries like India, translation is essential. It unites two culture and two languages and two communities' ideas. Okay, therefore in India, translation is essential. And thereby it furthers the cause of national integration. Thus the study of translation of Bhasha literature leads to the study of comparative literature, reinforces the task of nation building in the Indian context. And so finally, overall, translation helps for national integration. So we are united together. Why? Because it is because of translation. By translation, as translators do lots of translation, we are united. Okay, therefore, as far as India is concerned, translation is absolutely essential. Okay, and then open at page 171, last paragraph. Mark from last paragraph, 171, last paragraph. Okay, again, everything is discussed. We are just simply revising. Okay, that's all. What are the qualifications of a translator? Already several times we discussed. So long ago, speaking of qualification of a critic, Eliot said he must be possession of facts. And literary criticism, he was studying Eliot, T.S. Eliot, and especially in tradition and individual talent, he says that to be a critic or even to be a writer, you cannot imaginatively simply write. First of all, you have to be well versed in tradition, that is your past literature. Okay, if I want to be a poet, a poet in Tamil language, then I should study Thirukural, Thalapadikaram, Manimekalai, and all the traditional literature. I should be well versed in all the traditional literature, and by that I should write my own creativity. Okay, then only my work will be great. Without studying others' literature, and if I creatively write, my poetry cannot have any value in it. It cannot be called as a classical literature. Maybe for a time being, for 2 or 5 years or even 10 years, my poetry would be read. But after 10 years, no one will read my poetry. But rather, if I study all the literatures and then I write, then I will become a classical writer. Okay, so this is what T.S. Eliot said about qualification of a critic. Somewhat this is similar to qualification of translator also. Okay, so in other words, without learning scholarship, no one can become a critic, though anybody could be a creative writer without any formal learning or training. A translator must have inwardness with both language and culture and its people. So likewise, the translator should be well versed in both the languages, tradition, culture, language. So the translator, good translator, should be well versed in both source language and as well as in target language. Source language itself, culture and tradition. He should tradition in the sense the past literature. Okay, and so he should be well versed in traditional literature and culture. He should also possess an insight into for the use of SL and TL. Unless one is thorough with the language and the culture of a particular country, he cannot be a successful translator. If a critic is now considered not merely an interpreter but creator, the translator is not mere renderer, rather of an SL into TL, but a co-creator. Okay, see, critic is not an interpreter. Okay, and you are studying literary criticism. Critic is not an interpreter. Interpreter in the sense I will give lots of meaning. Okay, he is not the critic. The ability to perceive the text in a proper way. So then only he can be called as a critic. Likewise, translator is not mere rendering from one word to another word. He is a co-creator. Okay, so therefore naturally amount of creativity is essential. So already discussed the point, we are just simply revising it. Okay. My closing remark will be that translation is translation is possible, and it is literature 3, and if you will, and the translator should have inwardness with both the languages, and to make his job easy, he should combine the skills of polyglot and linguist. Translation is what translation does, and so it is literature 3. Okay, so already there is say for example this is Tirukural. Tirukural, the text is there. Tirukural is valued by the reader. As I read Tirukural, the Tirukural gets value, and the Tirukural is translated, and then it gets another value. Okay, so that is said to be literature 3, and so as we translate, the value of the original text is improved. Okay, and finally, what does the translation do? It transmigrates the SL text into TL text, and hence we can call translation as transmigration, and rightly so. That is why it is bound to be different from the original, if not in substance, at least in form, because it is the rebirth of the original. So it is a transmigration. Okay, I migrate from one country to another country, and I believe that. So this is migration. When the literature migrates, how can a literature migrate? It is through translation. Okay, and as the literature migrate, and then it survives. Okay, so translation is a kind of migration, and another important point, the translator should be a linguist. Okay, linguist that is well versed in SL as well as in TL, grammar and vocabulary, and then comparing the grammars. Okay, in Tamil we have SOV pattern, and in English we have SVO pattern, and accordingly rhyming words should be arranged, and the grammar doesn't have the scope in it. Okay, see, perfect tense cannot be translated. In the very first class I told you, there is no perfect tense in Tamil language. Okay, when this is the case, how can we translate? Okay, so I have he has gone out. Okay, Avan send vittan. Okay, that's all. Avan, he went out, and for the sentence he went out as well as he has gone out. For both the sentences, we have the same translation. We have same sentence in translation in Tamil. Okay, so this is the situation, and the translator should be a linguist, and again it is a kind of rebirth. Okay, so translation, okay, but Tirukural is produced, and everything is written, and as it is translated, again the ideas are going to be reborn. It is basically meant for readers who can't read the original. If a reader, one who knows both the languages, SL and the TL text, is in a position to make a comparative study of the translated text. see this important lion. So last paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think it's 7th line. Please underline the line. If a reader knows both the languages of SL text and TL text, he is in a position to make a comparative study of the original and the translated text. So let's say I am not a translator, but I simply compare various higher text and Tirukkural by Thiruvalluvar. Okay, then and I discussed rhyming words is not followed, within 7 words everything is not followed. So these points I simply write. Then it is comparative literature. So when I have the right to write a comparative literature, if I know both the text, I know English language and I know Tamil language, and another translator translated Tirukkural into English. I read both the Tirukkural by original text Tirukkural by Thiruvalluvar and translated text by V.V.S. Iyer, and I compare and write. So this is comparative literature. So the comparative literature writer should know both the languages. He need not be a translator. Okay, and so comparative literature is out of translation. Good and bad translation are a matter of opinion. Translator could be creative and imitator, but not exactly like original writer. This is because translation has a text before him, but the creative writer none. He creates. Okay. So the another important point. However hard work the translator does, we cannot recognize him as a creative writer. The respect. We say translated Tirukkural, but English reader beautiful. Yes, this is a great writing, and he should appreciate Thiruvalluvar, not V.V.S. Iyer. Okay, why? Because the important reason given here is that Thiruvalluvar wrote with his own creativity. Okay, without any help he wrote Tirukkural, but V.V.S. Iyer, with the help of the text Tirukkural, he wrote the translation. Okay, of course he added his own creativity with much effort and sincerity, lots of hard work he translated, yet we cannot recognize him. The credit should go to Thiruvalluvar. We cannot give credit to V.V.S. Iyer, because the work is not completely creative. Okay, with this text he translated. Okay, he wrote this one. Okay, so we cannot give the full credit to translator. That is the problem. If creative writer is the mother and the translator is the foster mother. Okay, so creative writer is like a mother. Okay, but the translator is a foster mother. Okay, so translator should be considered as a foster mother, but creative writer is considered as the original mother. And text needs both to exist in two languages. Translation is both medium and message. It saves the ancient text and extinction and gives new lease of life to the original text. So here all the texts are preserved, and their beauty and their creativity, their ideas are still preserved because of translation. Therefore, translation will exist. We have to translate and we have to read translated text. Okay, so that's how this Das ends completes this book. And of course, we have one more topic called untranslatability, and other topics will be discussed in the next video. So that's all for today's video. Thank you.